Hey there, it's Kevin Ward with Yes Masters Real Estate Success Training, helping real estate agents get more yeses and more successes in your business and in your life. And I got an email today from one of my coaching members, and the question is, Kevin, I've missed out on listings when I told the truth about the price, but the next agent behind me told the seller what they wanted to hear. They got the listing and the necessary price reductions. It took a while, but that agent got paid and I didn't. In situations like that, are there ever good reasons to give in to a seller on the price? And if so, how do you know when? Now that is a great question. And it is the dilemma of how do you know when to take an overpriced listing. I call it the overpriced listing dilemma. Because you know that if you shoot straight with them and you tell them the truth, that what's going to happen is there's going to be another agent. If you're competing with other agents and they're talking to other agents, there's always an agent out there who will tell them what they want to hear, not what they need to hear. They'll give in to the seller's price rather than educating them on the market price. Now, how do you deal with that? So I'm going to talk to you about three things today. Number one, why are they wanting to overprice it? That's the first consideration. The second thing is when, if they insist and they're adamant about overpricing it, when do you take an overpriced listing? And number three, how do you do it in a way that's in your best interest and in their best interest and allows you to maintain integrity? So let me tell you the first thing and part of it is just simply educating. And that is, in fact, for my coaching members, I have a marketing piece that I call the dirty little secret that most agents don't want you to know. Now think about that for a second. The dirty little secret that most agents don't want you to know. And here it is. Across the United States, and honestly, for those of you that are in Canada or other places in the world, this is only a United States statistic. I don't know the statistics outside of the US, but in the United States, about 70% of all properties, when they are originally listed, are listed at a price that they will not sell. Now think about that for a minute. 70% of listings taken, and I'll bet you it's true in your market, that 70% of listings that are taken are originally taken at a price that they will not sell. Now in some of your markets where prices are continuing to go up and inventory is extremely low and properties in such demand, even an overpriced listing is going to have a better chance of selling. That's just a function of the market. But over time and in most markets, the reality is the majority of listings that go on the market are originally listed at a price they won't sell. Now, what do you mean by that? Well, if you look at the properties that have sold in your market, look at how many of those required one or more price reductions to sell, which means when they were originally listed, they were listed at a price that wouldn't sell. And then all of the other listings that either were withdrawn off the market, canceled, or expired. And when you take all of those add up, all the properties that are listed and all the properties that are sold, over 70% of the properties that are listed either don't sell at all or they require one or more price reductions. 70 or more percent require a price reduction or don't sell, which means that 70% of agents take listings at a price they won't sell. Now, the reality is that hurts sellers. The reason is the property sits on the market a long time, and over time, it starts generating, I call it the WWWTH syndrome. The what's wrong with that house syndrome sits in, and literally, the longer a house sits on the market with the wrong price, the more likely it is to actually stimulate lowball offers rather than best offers. For a whole lot of reasons, which I don't have time to go into in this video. That's just something for my coaching members. But I want to share with you then, how do you deal with it when you're sitting down with the seller and they're insisting on pricing it at a price that's too high for the market? How do you deal with it? Well, the first thing is, why are they insistent? And so this is the first thing, because I can't let you off the hook. As a professional, as a real estate agent, the first question you've got to ask is, why are they insisting on keeping it overpriced? One, is it because of a poor presentation? And what I mean by that is, if you don't know how to educate and lead sellers to understand what the market is telling them in terms of pricing, and you poorly present that, if you poorly present the market analysis, they don't believe you. And they don't buy into, either they don't buy into what you're telling them about the market analysis, or you're not making it clear enough and helping them to make the emotional adjustment and the mental adjustment to the reality of the market. And that is a function of poor presentation. In other words, the skill of how do you help a seller understand and acknowledge something that they don't want to understand and acknowledge. How do you do that? Well, that's a skill. Learning how to present in a way that the sellers actually get the right price is a part of a skill presentation. Again, that's one of the things I teach my coaching members is how do you present to sellers in a way that they're going like, aha, I don't like it, but I get it. And that's the first step. So there's never a time to take an overpriced listing when you just didn't have the skill to educate them right. That's where you need to improve your skills, because you're misrepresenting. If you're taking them overpriced because you're not able to communicate it powerfully and justify why the pricing should be different than what they want, then that's a skill problem. Okay. So number one, why are they wanting to overprice it? Is it because of my presentation skills? Is it because I didn't do a good job or a strong presentation in the market analysis of helping them understand it? Or am I dealing with a situation where I just flat out have a stubborn seller that is able to look right in the face of reality and say, I know what the market's saying, but I'm not buying it. Here's what I want, and I'm in total denial, and I'm going to stay in denial. And even though you've educated them, you've shown them, and they're going like, I see what you're saying, but I still want to try it too high. Okay. So if it's a poor presentation, you need to get better, because otherwise you're going to frustrate yourself, because if your presentation here is weak, other things are going to be weak in getting this property sold, like getting them to adjust the price later is probably going to be an issue. But if it's just a stubborn seller and you go, oh, okay, look, here's what I know. They're going to sell this property, okay? And I can't get them to take it at a right price. And I know some other agent's going to come in here and tell them the price they want to hear. If I don't give them what they want, the price they want, they're going to not list with me, and they're going to go list with somebody else. So here then is, when do you accept that and take the listing, and when do you walk away? Okay, that's the next question. Now let's just say it's a condition here. No, I've handled all the objections and they're still stuck on the price. So I know now that they're not gonna price it where it should be on the market. They're willing to just fly in the face of reality and stick with their price. So now, when do I take the listing and at a price too high, and when do I walk away? How do I know when to do that? And here's how you'd make that decision. When do I walk away, and when do I take the listing? And here's when you take the listing. When you know that they're definitely going to sell the property. When they must sell the property, you know they're going to not be living there 6 months from now. You know they're going to sell it. Take the listing. Now, I'm not saying that that's necessarily the right. It's not a right or wrong. This is what I always did. This is how I looked at it. And this is how I did it. And it works most of the time. Here's why. Number one, don't let yourself off the hook because you do a weak presentation and they're pretty strong and they're adamant and you give in. Make sure you've educated them well, you've studied the market, you know it, you presented strongly. They just, in their own stubbornness, they're not going to budge. Okay, they must sell, take the listing, because if you don't, somebody else is going to get it. And because they have to sell over time, they will reduce the price, because you got the gap between where they want to be and the reality. And as their motivation gets stronger and pressure gets higher, the reality sets in and they're going to come down, and pain will literally drive them to adjust the price down. So if that's the case, you know they're going to sell, take the listing. Okay, take the listing, and then the question is, how do you take it? And here's how you take it. You tell them the truth about the market. And you make sure that you let them know, here's what the market's saying. We don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what the market's going to do. What we'll do is we'll put it on the market at your price, and we'll let the market tell us what's going to happen. And the cool thing is, I'm going to do everything I can to expose your property in the best way possible to get us the best and highest offers out there. And I will negotiate to get you every penny that we can get in this market. Okay, now there's other objection handlers that you can use to help get them realistic and help them understand the importance of pricing it right to help them get more money. Just, it's the way it works. But if they won't, you take the listing. If they must sell, that's what I would do. And then you make sure you let them know that what we're going to do is we're going to watch then how the market responds to our strategy. I'm going to put it out there. We're going to do the best we can, and then we'll watch and see what the market says. And look, if no buyers come along, no buyers are willing to pay, then we're going to have a conversation about the pricing again. Does that make sense? And when you go through that process, one, you got to make sure you're doing a good job up front in educating them. Number two, you got to make sure they're realistic about their having to sell the property, because if they're not realistic on the price, but they're motivated, and this is a motivation question, then over time, you know you're going to win, and they're going to win because they're going to come to reality sooner or later. And number three, you got to make sure as you do it that you're not just capitulating to reality and saying, oh, you're probably right, and I'm probably an idiot, and so you're probably right on the market. No, you say, hey, we're going to take a look at, we're going to do this. I'm going to do everything I can to get you the best offers and the best price possible. And we're going to listen to what the market tells us. And if the market says, no, that price is not going to get us a good offer, then we'll have a conversation in the future about what we need to do on the pricing. And when you do that with strength and make those decisions and focus on one, a good presentation, and two, their motivation, you'll win and you'll always help them win. If this is helpful, like it, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Feel free to share this with your broker if you want to get their input on this. And if you have any questions, feel free to put those questions in the comment and I'll make sure I answer them for you. In the meantime, play to win and always expect yes.